Okay, so once again, let us deal with teaching reading today. Yeah, and I would like to start the class with some memes I've prepared. So now have a look at these. Just a moment. Okay, yeah. So have a look at these memes. So did you recognize yourself in any of them? So raise your hands or react somehow for you to be able to respond to this question of mine. Did you recognize yourself in any of these memes? Okay. Me checking how many pages I'll have to read before I start reading a book, knowing what happens in the book someone is reading, just saw a great movie, and so that's how I react to it, and someone who read the book. Then, how I act when I get a new book. Then, when you are tired but you only have one more chapter, and when I finish a book and have to return to reality. So, the first person was, if I'm not mistaken, just let me check, Maria Ladonai. Yeah, Maria Ladonai. So, oh, Victoria Dovzhenko. So, Victoria, then Maria, Alina. So, like one by one in chronological succession.
Actually, I was not the first one. Yeah, I was one of the last, but I may answer.
Okay, so if you wish.
Actually, I see myself clearly in the meme, like how I act when I get a new book. I'm going on adventure because I am a big fan of fantasy books. And if there are people who are reading fantasy books, they completely understand me what I'm talking about because every single book is about a completely different new world, and I have this strong desire to live there. Yeah, like to change this reality. So yeah.
So it's quite difficult for you. So from what, yes, so from what you've mentioned, I can kind of infer a conclusion that it's quite difficult for you to kind of get back to our reality. Yes. So
Yeah,
soon
definitely.
after you finished reading the book. Then Darina. So I see you raising your hand. Darina.
Is it about me?
Mhm.
I don't
So
remember.
Darina Rudnicka, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I want to comment the last one. I feel like it's about me, because usually when I finish book, it's always hard for me to like return back to reality. Because I tried I live like fully with this story, and somehow I need to like react to this usual reality, not to dream about everything. Yes, it's like this.
So again, so one more person who chosen the same picture. Then Maria. So sorry for waiting for so long.
Okay, so I suppose meme that really reflects my situation is this one with Squidward, especially when I was at school, just because I used to read one book in one day, and they are sometimes quite big, like I mean, quite long to read them, but still I like spent the whole day on reading and so on, and once I literally spent the whole night reading one book. So actually, it's completely about me.
Thanks a lot. Then Katerina and Alina.
Okay, I also see myself in Squidward meme, and I can leave something unfinished, so I will sacrifice sleep, but I will do it. And it's not just about books. So this
It's
one,
about like everything that was of interest to you. Yeah,
yes, yes.
definitely. And Alina, finally, we're giving the floor to you.
Yeah, so actually, how I act when I get a new book, this meme is about me because I'm crazy, kind of at buying all the stuff, and I really enjoy this adventure that is called reading. And for me, it's a kind of ritual to have a cup of tea and read a new book. So for me, it's a kind of adventure.
Okay, so like these three pictures were chosen. If you ask my fair opinion, so I was kind of somewhere in between Squidward and so Jerry, just because so I cannot say that I didn't like reading. So I adored reading, but I was that kind of person who, so soon after finishing one book, proceeded to another one, and that's why. So sometimes that was quite stressful, especially if I were to do some other things, either for studying or like when I was going to help my mom about the house. And so, and also, you are a living being, and you need to find some time for you to have something to eat and for you to sleep. That's why I was kind of like torn apart between like whether to read, whether to start reading a new book or not. And sometimes I just counted the number of books. So the number of pages in a book for me to be in the know whether to start or maybe to postpone that kind of activity for myself, and so and start dealing with that later. Yeah, so that's why when I just found these memes on the net, so I laughed a lot, recognizing myself, and I thought that it would be quite interesting even for you to recognize yourselves. So, okay, if talking about your learners, so now we were talking about as ourselves. If talking about your learners, so what picture, like what meme do you think best reflects the way they feel about reading? Do they feel the same? So nowadays, so how do most of our learners feel? Do they like reading? Don't
Can
they
I
like?
share?
Uh-huh, yeah.
I feel mostly they don't like reading, and their reaction usually like, oh, again reading a long text, and so I think we should mm, like have some strategies to teach them correctly, and to definitely like find texts that follow their interests. Because if it's something long and hard for them, they just like don't have desire to read anything anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Victoria?
Yeah, probably I am a lucky teacher because I have a couple of students who really adore reading books, so we can discuss with them. But I suppose it's not about their curriculum. Yeah, so those books that are taken from foreign literature, usually, or Ukrainian literature, these are the books that they've chosen on their own. So, like, and they bought for themselves in this way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So thanks a lot. Now I will invite you to participate in taking a questionnaire for yourselves so that we could so kind of go deeper into the world of learning, the world of teaching, the world of reading, and so for us as teachers to be able to understand what our learners feel concerning reading. Okay, right now in our chat, I will just leave the link for you to be able to take this quiz. Okay. That's already here. So, okay, perhaps I will go there and show you how this questionnaire looks like. So it contains only 3 questions. Mind please that while answering the first question, you will need to choose only one answer. In questions 2 and 3, you can pick up as many as you wish. Yeah, pick up as many as you wish. And then we will analyze the results. So currently I will stop sharing the screen. So deal with the quiz, and later on we will analyze the results.
Can you help me, please, with language interference? What does it mean?
Language interference is like when you, for example, think like in Ukrainian, so or you prefer to use the same techniques, mechanisms that work in Ukrainian or any other language that is considered to be your native one.
No, thanks.
You're welcome. Perhaps if you have any other questions related to the terms reflected in the questionnaire, don't be afraid of asking. I will explain. Mhm. 4 people already done. 7. Okay.
Sorry, is it about reading in general or reading in English?
Reading in English. Reading in English, definitely. Reading in a foreign language, namely English.
Sorry for being late. Could you please explain what are you doing now?
So we are taking a quiz, Maria. Yeah, you can join, no worries. So I've provided the link in the chat box, so not in the chat box, in our Telegram group. So it's available there. But in case if you currently do not see that, I can leave it here in the chat as well.
Yeah, I see.
You see that? Then join us. A minute more, and we will finish. Mhm. 22. Just half of you. Where are the rest? Okay. Perhaps we will start then. I will share my screen and show the results to you. Okay, if talking about the very first question, do your learners like to read? You as teachers or future teachers, yeah, or those teachers who are now having their school internship answered no, more no than yes. So what accounts for these results? So can you provide some comments behind? What accounts for such results? So why have you answered more a no than yes? So like there should be some kind of observation of yours or some evidence that proves this. Okay, Maria.
Actually, the same, well, like not the same, but each time when I show this text for my students and they see that they have to read, I see this like expression on their face that they don't want to read, and then they are like, "Oh, that's such a long text. I don't want to read it. Why is it so long?" Something like that.
So you mean that for a lot of them it's boring, and as it can be time consuming, just because it takes a lot of time and they are not used to dedicating much time to like being involved in some meaningful activity. Am I right? So is
Yeah,
it
something like this.
Yeah. Okay, Katerina?
Yeah, it's just observation, and I think it's because of social media accessibility, like TikTok and all this stuff. They're in free access, and also they used to read and watch short videos, so they like cannot pay attention for 1 hour and like this.
Yeah, so and actually there can be one more problem. So they have the so-called clip thinking, yeah, clip thinking. And so they
Yeah.
perceive only that information that is quite short, brief, without the need for them to go further into details. Yeah, but so okay, let me not use it as a spoiler because we're going to discuss the problems a bit further. Okay, why do your learners read? So what motivates them to read, even in case when they do read something? So what makes them do it, and why do they do it? Okay, let's analyze the results. Here we have maximum, so 92, almost 93% to study. So you mean, so does it mean that, so the only time when they definitely need to read is when they are asked to do that, to study. For example, to do their home assignment, to get ready with some report. But in any case, that's something that was said to them by their teachers. Yeah? So do we treat it like this? Or is it something related to their own willingness and their own desire to study?
No, it's most about first variant, first
The
option.
first option. It's just when the task was set to them by their teachers and they just cannot but do it. Okay, then, so there is such a big discrepancy. Yeah, such a big discrepancy. So the second place is taken by finding something out. So they want to read or they start reading in order to find something out. What can it be? Because it's too general, find something out. Let us specify it. What can they be looking for? What can they be looking for?
Maybe
What? Mhm.
instructions for the task, yeah, what they should do or something like that, maybe. Yeah, mostly.
Answers.
Okay. So
Answers for the study. Let's
there are so-called ready-made answers, quite
Yes.
available, available on the net, and that's what sometimes they are looking for. They're trying to find that out. Okay, so it can be. Then the third place is taken by so learning how to deal with something. Again, let us make it more specific, give more details. Learning how to deal with something. What can it be? Perhaps. Okay, Alina?
So actually, sometimes they are asked to find in the text some synonyms or maybe the phrases that have a kind of similar meanings. So maybe they just try to skim the information to analyze it properly, and in this way, they just read it in detail. So.
Okay, but again, that's kind of like task that was set to them by teachers, yeah? Or
Yeah.
like I will analyze what my son usually does. So very often whenever he's asked to find something out or to learn how to deal with something, usually like these two things are related to finding out how to use a particular computer game, so rules of a particular game. That's why. So he starts Googling for that, so asking GPT chat, so reading reading what it suggests, so in order to clarify to himself how to use the particular combination of, for example, buttons, so on the of the computer buttons, or maybe he's looking for something else, but it should necessarily be related to computer and playing games. So unfortunately, but so that is sad. That is a sad situation that we are experiencing nowadays. Yeah, and by the way, so no one reads to kill time. Yeah, so because no one has chosen this answer a single time. That's why it means that, for example, if our learners or our students want to kill time or to fill their time, yeah, they will definitely use their mobile phones or some apps, but that won't be the book for dealing with that. Okay, what problems do learners have while reading? Let's analyze what you think. The first place is shared by poor vocabulary, problems with decoding and understanding. So let us provide a bit more comments. Perhaps like you've experienced that or you've observed that in your own lessons. I believe that you are giving private tutorials as well as now you are dealing with some students in the classroom since you are like having your internship. So could you please share or give more specific details related to that? Any observation, Alina?
Yeah, it seems to me that's the biggest problem is poor vocabulary or maybe some terms that can be met in the text, and the teacher needs to clarify it and give maybe even some examples, because sometimes if it's like specific text, it gives some things that can be really difficult. But in general, I think that if teacher can pre-teach this vocabulary in a good way, we can avoid this problem. But still, I believe that there should be something that is always unknown for students, like 20% of the text or whatever, for them to maybe for them to find out it by themselves. So kind of this.
Yeah. So, Olena Kravets?
As for problems with decoding and understanding, I've observed that sometimes students read the text and they seem to know all the words, and sometimes I check if they understand the words, and they understand all the words separately, but they can't put them together like in one thought or idea. They can't get the point of the text, even though they are aware of all the vocabulary and grammar structures.
So you are talking about the problem of so cohesion. They cannot group words together, or cannot link words together, and they cannot express themselves since they don't know how to frame those words they know into the sentences, right, Yuan?
Yes, so they don't understand what they read about.
Yeah. The second place, because like the third was taken by poor vocabulary and problems with decoding. By the way, do all of you understand like what is meant by decoding? Like, because I've forgotten to ask that. So decoding, what is decoding? It's the ability to kind of do what? Decoding and understanding. When you decode the information, it means that you start
Try to guess meaning.
Guess the meaning. Yeah, you try to understand. Yeah, so what a particular word means. Yeah. Okay. If talking about retention, only 8 of you, so only 28% of you think that it can be a problem. So, and here I believe that I need to specify it because retention means the ability to keep something in your head. And whenever it comes to the mechanism of reading, remember that so it lies on three like kind of things, or three phenomena, are interrelated, so with each other. So that's decoding, because like while reading the information, the students perceive it, try to decode, so to say, to understand what was mentioned, and then they can like retain it in their heads. So make everything so that this information that they've read could stay in their heads and be with them for long. Unfortunately, our students demonstrate in most of the cases poor memory, just because they are not used to dealing with texts. They are not willing very often to deal with these texts, especially if they are long and it can be time consuming. And that's why very often on reading something, they keep on forgetting it immediately, or a few moments, a few minutes right after reading it. So again, I can observe them that on the personal example of my son. So sometimes he keeps on reading something, especially if the text is a bit difficult for him, especially if it deals not even with English, because he does like English, but if it deals with German. And when I keep on asking him, so what have you read about? He just says, I've read it. You asked me to read. I read it, but you did not ask me to remember. Yeah. And that's where the problem comes. So poor memory and unwillingness to remember unwillingness or like to remember the things, or there can be also the problem with not being able to remember because they are not well trained in how to do that. Okay, the third place, or third or second, I don't know how to treat that, is taken by low motivation. So from your personal experience, what should be done so to increase this motivation, so to make it higher, so to make them be more motivated rather than demotivated in reading? So Afruza, you were the first.
I think that for motivation, we can use not texts, but we can use comics and comics, and also we can. I forgot what I wanted to
You
say.
lost the train of thought. So, okay, you'll think it over and we will come back to it. Yeah? Now we will give the floor to Alina, and then so perhaps you will recollect. So, Alina?
Yeah, actually, the first that comes to my mind is to analyze students' needs and interests first. But if there is no chance to do so, especially if it's a class at school, so we can't, to ask everyone, to vote and try to find out something that can be interesting for all of them. So I think maybe to divide the information, because like as visual learners, like I'm a visual learner, I need to see the text in a kind of logical vision. No, I mean logical view. So, like to divide them into some parts, maybe, and not very long. I think there should be a limit of words or maybe sentences. Oh, and of course, it's better to have short sentences than long one because, yeah.
Okay, so the sentences shouldn't be too complex, yeah?
Yeah.
The first idea. So then, Afruza, so did you recollect what you wanted to say? Because I have something to say, but I do not want to interrupt you. If you've recollected, then I will listen to you. If not, then I will continue talking. What will you tell me?
Yes, I wanted to add short, humorous short stories, and like anecdotes or jokes. They can read them, short stories, and also we can use newspapers, but use texts and news that they like.
Okay, so yeah, I see your point. And on the one hand, I do agree with you that, for example, for us to motivate the students, so we need to kind of like invent some new methods, techniques, use a lot of visuality, and it will work perfectly well when we are talking about, so upper intermediate or pre-intermediate learners. What do you think? Beginners. Like, when will these pictures work better? When we are talking about what level of students?
Beginners.
Beginners, definitely. Because if we're talking about upper intermediate learners, they should be taught how to deal with analytical reading. And analytical reading cannot be presented through comics, yeah? That's why here we should take into consideration the particular aim that stands behind reading, as well as the level of our students. Okay, Katerina? So, Katya?
Yes. It will be effective to place the student in an environment where people are reading, of course. But in the classroom, it is possible to use, as girls said, different reading techniques, not just one after the other, and do the same types of tasks. So.
Mhm. Okay, and one more suggestion from me. So that deals rather with a type of reading. So perhaps you've heard about so-called jigsaw reading, yeah? Responding to the suggestion proposed by Afruza, I will tell her that, for example, in case if comics will work better when we are talking or when we are dealing with pre-intermediate learners, so what can we do, for example, to motivate our students who are upper intermediate learners? Why not suggest jigsaw reading when you give particular parts of the text or of the article to certain students, or you can at least divide your class into two big groups. One group will deal with the first part of the article of the text, the other one will deal with the other one, and then you will set the students in pairs so that they could share the information they've read with their partner, and so that they could listen to what their partner will present, and thus they will come up with a whole picture on what the article of the text is about. It will be motivating. So it will save their time on reading, because instead of reading, for example, the text for, let it be like 5 minutes, so they will dedicate 2 minutes to that, and so the rest of the time will be spent on these productive on production. So they will be talking, yeah, not just perceiving the information through their eyes or with their eyes, but also so by ear, and they will talk, because the main goal of acquiring any language, including foreign language, is to acquire it, and it can be done just through speaking and by speaking. Okay, thanks a lot for dealing with that. So we are moving further. So today we are going to to talk about reading, treating it as a receptive skill. It's one more receptive skill because the previous time we talked about another receptive skill that is called
Listening.
listening, definitely. So there are two receptive skills. So listening that we already dealt with, and so today we'll deal with reading. We will also discuss types of reading. So talk about bottom-up and top-down approaches in reading, analyze stages in teaching reading. So, and we will also deal with reading lessons. So I will show some examples of how these stages work, and you'll be involved in designing the tasks for one of these stages. So currently you won't be responsible for the whole lesson on reading, but so you will deal just with one of the stages. Okay, if talking about reading and listening, okay, I will not show this table yet. So let us recollect what makes them similar, or what are the commonalities between reading and listening, and what makes them different. So we've mentioned that both belong to receptive skills. What else is common when we are talking about them? What else can be common? Let me elicit that from you briefly. What else can be common? So if the skills are receptive, then will the stages of the lesson be similar?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it should be like pre-listening, while, and post.
Right, you are, yeah. If the stages are similar, then for example, test formats with the help of which you will check, for example, their understanding will be quite similar, yeah. But there are also some differences. What are they? How do we perceive the information in case with listening? It's done by ears, yeah? So the information is perceived by our ears. In case with reading, it's perceived with our eyes, yeah? Besides, in case, for example, with reading, so can your students reread the text? Is it possible for them?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Can they kind of re-listen the text once they've heard it?
On their own, no.
No, they are
During the lesson.
limited to listening to that just twice, yeah? So there are some tasks that will be set for the first listening or gist listening as we call it, and the tasks for the second listening for specific information, for getting specific information, for example, and unfortunately, so that's not possible for them. Okay, let us have a look at some other commonalities and differences. So, reading is a learned skill, while listening is a developmental acquisition. Reading time is controlled by the reader. For example, if you think that you need more time, if you think that you need to stop here and analyze a particular phrase and so stay here for longer, you can do that. In case with listening, you cannot say, "Oh, speaker, could you please just stop, because so I did not hear what you said. Could you please repeat from the very beginning?" That's impossible, yeah? That's why listening is perceived at rate of speaker. Then the text can be reread, but the audio files cannot be re-listened. Then some prosodic features. Prosodic features like for example intonation, stress, yeah, that are present, and linking of the words. So that's what is present in case with listening. But we lack this prosody when we are talking about reading. In case with reading, we usually need to integrate auditory and visual skills, though in case with listening, so these are just auditory processing skills. Then with reading, that's decoding visual and information and something that is perceived by ear, especially when the teacher sets some tasks to you and you need to listen to what you are asked about. In case with listening, that's decoding the information only auditorily. Then written language is segmented It's formal, it's slow, deliberate, and you can understand where the word boundaries end. In case with listening, speech is rapid and very often, so when you cannot identify these word boundaries, that's what blocks your understanding. Yeah, we discussed that the previous time. When it comes to reading, words are separated by spaces. And in listening, that's prosody and intonation, so that sometimes define whether we understand something or not. In case with reading, words always look the same, but so in listening activities, words can differ according to the context. And reading is used to communicate over time and distance, though listening or while listening occurs within social environment, so especially when we are addressing someone, asking for something, so face to face. But still, if we have a look at the types of reading, then types of listening and types of reading, so they are pretty similar. In case with listening, yeah, we've identified such types as monitoring, listening for gist, intensive listening. In case with reading, so we deal with scanning, or perhaps you heard such a word as gist, yeah? So for example, so a kind of like, skimming, that's reading for a gist. Scanning, that's like we kind of briefly scan the information in order to find that information that we are looking for. So it can be called also reading for in order to find some specific details, and intensive reading. But more or less, yeah, they are like these stages look similar, because listening or reading for gist so is interrelated with skimming, and sometimes it's given in a slash. We can talk about intensive listening as well as intensive reading. And scanning the information in case with reading is pretty much the same to monitoring the information in listening. It's just when, so remember I told you, when you are waiting for a bus at a bus station and the speaker announces, the bus arrives at station, so you're listening to this information, trying to pick up on only that information you are interested in. For example, you are waiting only for information that will be related to that bus you are waiting for, and you will not be interested in all the other details. Yeah, so here we are looking for some specific details. So reading as a receptive skills is interrelated with the following mechanisms of decoding, so to say word recognition, then fluency and cohesion, when we start grouping words together, linking them together, understanding the vocabulary, because sometimes poor knowledge of vocabulary so will block your understanding as a learner. Understanding sentences in general, so grammar structures, because, for example, very often learners get confused at such structures as he used to live here and he is used to living here, or he is getting used to living here. So though these structures look similar from the point of view of the learners, but the idea behind them will be completely different, yeah? Because in case with used to, you just talk about something that you had in the past, some repeated action in the past. But in case with so being used to something, it just shows your current habit. Or in case if you say that you are getting used to something, then it indicates that you are experiencing some problems with adjusting to the needs of the particular situation. And so it can be difficult for our learners also to understand the idea of the text, yeah, so because sometimes it's not coherent to them, and so reasoning comes as one more mechanism that makes reading difficult for them. Okay, right now I would like to recollect what you already know on types and sub skills, related to Okay, related to types of reading, yeah, types of reading. Mind please, so that we've already mentioned, so three main types of reading. So intensive reading, then skimming or reading for, reading for gist, and scanning, or the so-called reading for specific details, for finding out about specific details. Still, if we're talking about reading sub-skills and strategies, then they are a bit broader. Besides scanning, skimming or gist reading, then intensive reading, extensive reading, we also have such sub-skills as predicting or prediction and inferring the meaning. Now, you will be assigned in groups where for 6 minutes you will need to distribute everything that will be suggested here on this Learning Apps site into the categories. Yeah, so according to the reading, so you will have to distribute the activities to the groups of reading sub-skills and strategies. Let me provide you with this link so that you could start working. Again, I will leave it in our chat here on Telegram. Open it now and tell me please if it's active. I need just one person to give it a try. Yeah, it works. It works. Then Yulia Yurievna will assist me and assign you into groups. Thank you. So are all of you back? Yeah, 44 people. That's why. So I will start sharing the screen just a moment again. But for this, I should load the page because I need to start from scratch. So did you have enough time for dealing with that task?
No.
No, and there were a lot of doubts, yeah, so related to what is what. Okay, so before we proceed to distributing that and eliciting that from you, I'd like to get to know if you remember what is what. So once again, so when we talk about skimming or gist reading, what is all that stuff about? What is it about? Gist, understanding gist. It's understanding what?
General content,
General
idea.
It's understanding, for example, the text, the idea of the text in general. Then scanning, it's more about
Finding specific
details.
specific details. So inferring meaning, it's like when you are asked to kind of identify, yeah, so what a particular word or phrases or idioms mean. So prediction, that's about trying to understand, anticipate what the text will be about. Then extensive reading, it's what? If it's extensive, then it's long.
Long.
Can it be done in the classroom? Can you be asked to read the whole book on Jane Eyre or, for example, Harry Potter in the classroom?
No.
No. That's why. So where can this type of reading be met? Where can it be done?
Like an article from newspaper.
No. I mean extensive reading. Yeah. So kind of like this.
It can be done at home.
Can be done at home. Yeah, can be done at home. So the teacher usually sets the task. The students perform it at home, and on coming back to the classroom, they kind of just share the ideas. Yeah, share the ideas, or they bring to the classroom so what they were asked to do on reading a particular text, a book, a story, whatnot. So, and reading intensively or kind of intensive reading, that's what? That's what? It's quite similar to scanning, but while scanning presupposes kind of like listening in order to find out sorry, not listening, but reading in order to come across that word or that information you are interested in, reading intensively may need rereading the text, reading it for the second time in order to fully understand what it's about, in order to provide some profound details on a particular story, article, or the text in general. Okay, now let's analyze these activities. So students are given a set of instructions to follow, for example, directions. Students are given a set of instructions to follow. For example, go there, turn to the right, then, so at the third crossing, turn to the left. Marina?
Reading intensely.
Yeah, thank you. Learners read the advertisement and come across a job title that might be suitable for them. They kind of like read something. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. It's scanning, definitely. Learners are asked within a limited period of time to read the first sentence of each paragraph and say what the whole text is about.
Predicting.
Students read a timetable to get to know when the train arrives.
Scanning.
Yeah, so are they interested in all those names? No, like so just their eyes will stop on the name of that bus, for example, or the title or name of that bus that they are interested in. They will not even remember what their eyes were set on before. That's about scanning. Then, students are asked to find what pages a weather report, a TV schedule, business news, and readers' letters are on in a newspaper or magazine given. What pages a weather report, TV schedule, business news, and readers' letters are on in a magazine or newspaper they were given. Marina?
Maybe skimming or just reading.
So they have to, they have to read it. So in order to like fully just to understand the general idea what it's about, in order to find like what page it's on or at. Students are asked to read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and write out 5 favorite quotes. Katerina?
Extensive reading.
Extensive reading. That is usually done at home. After announcing the topic, the learners are asked to write questions they have about the topic.
Predictions.
Yeah, the teacher says, today we will talk about going to the restaurant or dining out. What questions do you have related to the topic? Yeah. Then for a limited time, here the key phrase is for a limited time. Learners need to categorize short news articles into international, national, local, and business news. Okay. The students are given the text with a few sentences removed. They need to put the sentences back in the correct places. A few sentences are removed, and they need to put the. So, will it be enough just to read for general understanding? Kind of diagonally. Will it be enough to read for general? No. So that's why they should.
Intensive reading.
Then students are asked to design a cover for a book after reading it. Kind of. Design a cover for the book after reading it.
Extensive reading?
Definitely, because you'll need to read the whole book for you to be in the know. Learners are given a brochure or website advertising various products and asked to find particular details about the product like size or price.
Scanning.
Okay. The students get a news story. The teacher asks them to comment on what they would have done if they had been in the same situation, in this situation. Will it be enough again to just to grasp the general idea? or should they read in more detail? They need to comment on what they would have done if they had been in that situation. Learners take part in a reading race, trying to find, so if it's a reading race, they need to read something so as fast as possible, trying to find specific information from text faster than other learners.
Scanning.
Then students are informed as for the genre, illustrations, keywords from the text or the cover from a book, and they are asked to guess a content. For example, the teacher states what the genre of the text or the book is, or gives the keywords, and they need to guess what the content will be about.
Predicting?
Yeah, definitely. Give learners a set of different short texts, for example, an adverb or public notice, and ask them where they would find them, like these pieces of short texts. For example, in a park, in a magazine, whatever.
Maybe skim.
Skimming? You mean this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so there can be mistakes, so we will check it later. Learners are given the question sheet and asked to guess the answers before reading the text.
Predicting.
Okay. Difficult words are picked up from the text and students are asked to choose the correct meaning for each of them from choices A, B, C, D.
Inferring meaning.
Definitely. Give learners a set of different short text, an adverb, and ask them where they would find them. Aha, that's what we've dealt with. Yeah, so where did we place it? Do you remember?
Scanning.
For a limited time, learners need to categorize short news articles into international, national, local, and business news. For a limited time, again, so the keyword here is limited time.
Reading intensively.
So let us prove it, what it should be. So skimming or scanning or intensive reading, definitely not inferring meaning. As well as it shouldn't be or can't be predicting something, yeah? So, and it's not an extensive reading. So once again, for a limited time, learners need to categorize short news articles into international, national, local, and business news.
Scanning. It is scanning.
Students are asked to find what pages a weather report, a TV schedule, business news, and readers' letters are on in the newspaper or magazine given. Oh, so yeah, that's what has already been here. Yeah, it seems to me that we've dealt with everything. And the last one, so students are provided with definitions so that they can find corresponding words in the text. They have definitions and they should find words in the text.
Inferring meaning.
Inferring meaning. And now let's check if everything was properly done. Aha, there are some mistakes. Let's again analyze that. Learners are asked within a limited period of time to read the first sentence of each paragraph and say what the whole text is about. The first sentence. Okay, let me place it here. For a limited time, learners need to categorize short news articles into international, national, local, and business news.
Skimming.
That's definitely skimming for sure. Give learners a set of different short texts, an advert, a public notice, and ask them where they would find them, in a park, in a magazine, etc.
Maybe again skimming.
There will be mistakes again. No, there are so okay. We did everything in the proper way because I thought that there was some box with the information that we skipped. So luckily we've dealt with everything. So once again, Inferring meaning, that's dealing with the meaning of the word. Then here, prediction, that's trying to anticipate what the text will be about. Then skimming or gist reading, understanding the general idea, yeah, when you just grasp the main idea of the text. So then scanning, it's like coming across what interests you when you are not interested in all the other details. Intensive reading is going deeper into all the details of the text. And extensive reading, that's reading the text like that is rather long, or the article that is rather long. When you do it usually at home and come up in the classroom, bringing the like result, yeah. So some quotes that you were asked to write out, some cover of the book that you were asked to design, or dealing with any other task that you are to do as based on what you read at home. Okay, and now let us proceed to those ideas that will help you to ace your reading lesson in CELTA. So now we will deal with these. So with the lesson stages, perhaps I will show first. Yeah. The framework for a receptive skills lesson. Remember? So it has the following stages. So lead in, pre-text discussion, pre-teach vocabulary, then listening for gist, listening for specific or detailed information, post-text discussion, and some productive or extension activity. Yeah, productive skills or extension activity. So all of these stages should be present in the lesson that is based on developing the listening or reading skills. I mean, receptive activities lesson. Just sorry, somebody is calling. I just heard. I stopped that because somebody is persisting in calling. Okay, and right now I'd like you to do the following. So for some time, so let it be up to 3 minutes, you'll be given up to 3 minutes, you will work individually. And since we now revised on the stages of a reading lesson, I will ask you to read these statements. There are currently 11 of them. These are the tips for acing your reading lesson in CELTA. Some information is missing, but this information is related just to numbers or figures. These figures are indicated here. They can be repeated. So no wonder, do not think that if you used it once, so it cannot be used again. No, that does not work like this. So look through that and think what numbers, what figures should be used in each of these statements. So when your time is over, when these 3 minutes are over, we will start analyzing that together. So are you now done? Perhaps let us start dealing with that. So there are how many ways to start planning a reading lesson? And what are they?
2 ways.
2 ways. Yeah. So Darina, so can you be more specific as to what these 2 ways to start planning a reading lesson
Okay.
are?
Okay, it can be bottom up when we start from smaller parts, like let's say in reading from words we can start, and then we come to the like text level,
Yeah,
or
to
we
the
can even start
So it
from
works better with what level of students?
like younger.
Yeah, when we're dealing with young learners, so yeah, with beginners, it's much more better to start with bottom-up approach. Just a
To
moment.
understand separate words and like structures, and then like they understand text better in whole.
Yeah, because so we need to clarify some words that can block their understanding, and so on the basis of so this of the analysis of this at first isolated words, then phrases, then clauses, they will come up with the understanding of the whole text. But when we talk about so upper intermediate, for example, advanced learners, then so that would be boring for them, yeah. Because they can perfectly understand the content of what they read. So without some particular words that they can just omit if they in general can understand what the text is about. That's why for them, top-down approach would work better. So that's why we should provide them with what? So some tasks for prediction, yeah?
Prediction, yeah, or
Anticipation.
gist.
Yes, language anticipation, culture anticipation, and so based on this, so we can move down, yeah, so to the analysis, for example, of some key phrases for their general understanding, then some other more like some other phrases in more details, and some particular words. Okay. Once again, so let's come back here. So avoid things making a text either too easy or too difficult for your level. Avoid. How many things did you count? Making the text. Two things. So it should be neither too easy nor too difficult. So avoid 2 things. So if you ask my fair opinion, for example, how can you, oh, just a moment, yeah, check the level of the text, then you can just click on that, on that link. I'll provide you with that. I will leave it so in our chat in introduction to CELTA group. Currently it won't open, perhaps. Okay, I will not waste time on that. So, but it definitely works because it's active. So, and I checked it right before the class. Yeah. So, so being redirected to this link, you can check what, in case if you have some text, but you are not sure if it's suitable, for example, for a certain level of students you currently work with. So you may check it through this site, and it will tell you whether, for example, it corresponds to that level you expect, or maybe it's a level higher or a level lower than the one you need. And then you will be in the know what to do. So how to adjust this level to that level that you need. Then the structure of a reading lesson usually comprises how many stages?
3 stages.
So 3. So what are they?
Pre reading, while reading, and post reading.
Okay, but what about lead in?
Okay, lead in. So pre-text
Pre-text and
discussion.
pre-teach. It can be kind of combined in one. Task 4.
Reading.
The first reading, then
a second reading.
Second reading. And
Post.
post-text discussion that can be combined with these with this productive skills extension activity. So here we can like unite them in one. That's why, how many did you count?
5. If
5.
I'm not mistaken.
1, then 2, 3, 4, and 5. Definitely. At least 5. There can be a bit more, but so not less than 5. Lead in can be minutes or up to minutes long, because going beyond is a no-no. It's a taboo that you shouldn't do. Lead in stage. How long should it be? From
3 or 5 minutes.
3 minutes to up to maximum. What is maximum?
7 or 10.
7 minutes. 7 minutes. Fruza, so thanks a lot. So it should, so can be like 3 to 7 minutes long. Going beyond 7 is a no-no. It just means that it's no longer like a lead in. Yeah. So, and you'll be punished by your trainer. So in doing your CELTA course, so that will immediately extract points from your final mark. Then, question for a lead in is not enough and is too many. If talking about the questions that we suggest for a lead in activity, how many of them should we give? Should we suggest? So, it's not enough. It's one question. One question for a lead in is not enough. And how many of them can be too many?
5 questions.
So there should be 5 is an ideal number. From 3 to 5 is an ideal number. But if you suggest 10, then it's too many, or even 7, that's too many. If your class is A1 level, you should pre-teach words that are higher. So yeah, so to say, so if your students are of A1 level, but you give the text that is of A1 plus level, there are definitely some words that belong to a higher level. So, so how many of these words you should from the text you should usually pre-teach before they start reading? Of course, not the whole text, because they can claim that they do not understand the whole text. And here the question arises. Perhaps you've chosen too difficult text. Yeah, it's kind of like too complex. So usually?
Maybe 5.
5, right, you are. Gist reading should only take a few minutes, about or around
2 minutes.
So maximum 3. Maximum 3. So, and it's a taboo if you allow your students to read more. Again, so your trainer, CELTA trainer, will tell you, so stop it immediately. To be quite frank, when I was doing my CELTA course, my trainer told me, so choose the text, so pick up the text, or cut down on the number of words in them, or adjust them, so that you could give just 1 minute for the gist reading. Still, I strongly disagree with him, because I believe that 1 minute is not enough. At least 2 should be given, but definitely not more than 3. Then, reading for detailed, okay. Questions for gist reading is a good number. More than is too much. How many questions should you suggest for gist reading? How many questions? For example, so you ask them to read the text for general understanding. With the help of how many questions are you going to check this gist reading?
Maybe 2.
3. 3 questions for gist reading is a good number, but more than
5.
5 is too much. For gist reading, more than 5 even is too much. Reading for detailed understanding should be checked by, and here you see like 2 figures or 2 numbers. Should be checked by from 2. How many questions?
5, 7.
From 5 to 7 questions. Thanks a lot, Ivana. The follow-up stage should take up to minutes. Follow-up when they are involved in discussing something, sharing their opinion, speaking in general.
10 minutes.
So up to 15. Up to 15. By the way, I will tell you that the more time you give to them for a productive stage, the more it's appreciated. Of course, that shouldn't be like 25 minutes of the class. But so from 10 to 15 minutes, that's ideal time. So for the students to talk and to turn this receptive skill, into a productive, so the skill of speaking, so expressing your point of view. Then, as a teacher, you shouldn't forget about correction and feedback. Yeah. Definitely, we were like punished when we were not doing that. That's why, so we were asked, even in case if we lacked time, to dedicate at least like a few minutes to doing that. So dedicate at least how many minutes to providing the students with the feedback and error correction? Dedicate at least
two.
At least how many minutes?
Maybe two, if we are like, if we lack
If we are
time.
pressed for time, yeah, if we are pressed for time, so that's so up to like 2-3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. If you can dedicate 5, that's perfect. So do not exceed your time limits. So do not take even more than that. So because like more than 5, so it's not a good idea as well. But you but you shouldn't avoid dealing with feedback and error correction. Okay. And so finally, or eventually, so we will come. We've come up to this final stage of our today's class. So today we will. Today in breakout rooms again, you'll be asked to analyze the stages of a lesson on reading. So in case if you just analyze the text, so it's entitled "The Weird Ways People Meet," and so here come the tasks based on these texts. So in general, so it's partly about online dating and about like some other ways of where and how people can meet each other. So now in breakout rooms, in groups of yours, with partners of yours, you'll be asked to analyze these stages of the lesson. And you should come up with what stage is missing. Yeah, so you see nothing here. What stage is missing? And I will ask you to provide me with some ideas of what you could suggest for this stage in particular. Okay, so Yulia Yurievna, could you please assign us into breakouts? Thank you. Okay, so now we are back. I believe that this time we first had more time for the discussion. Besides, it wasn't that stressful to you. And so this time, so we had a bit more ideas because all of you have enough practice in teaching, listening and reading or receptive skill lessons. And so you had some ideas to share. Okay, so there are some ideas that Halina shared with me, and I would like to hear more from you. I will start sharing the screen. I will start showing these stages. Let us identify what is what. Do we have any lead-in? Do we have any lead-in? What are your ideas? Okay, Maria?
You can use this page, this picture with two people in front of the laptops, and it can be like a prediction of the topic.
So it can be used as a prediction, or kind of content, yeah, kind of content and content anticipation activity. Okay, then the question arises: what stage is omitted? What stage is omitted? Have you identified that, or you still have doubts?
We thought that it was pre-text discussion.
So it was missing, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give the floor to all those willing to talk, and let us discuss what we already have. Then that would be much easier for us to identify what is missing. Okay, what is meant by this? Here we have a picture of the people dancing and the stage with that presupposes dealing with the following questions. Have you ever heard of weird or strange ways of getting acquainted with new people? What are they? Tick 3 weird ways of meeting your best half, and they are suggested, and individual students comment on their choice. What's this? What's this? Looks as if you haven't read
Yeah, we were not attentive enough, and we thought, as for this stage, that it like post reading discussion, but actually turns out that it is a pre-reading discussion. Yeah.
Here we have the keywords that you think are described in the article. Yeah, very often lead in does look like, so the productive stage, so the activity for a productive stage, for extension stage. But in fact, thanks to these keywords, so which of them you think are described in the article, and it just indicates that it should be lead-in activity. Okay, if this stage is related to lead-in, or can be also called pretext, pretext activity, let us analyze what the other two will be about. Here we have a text itself and the task. Read the text one more time. It means or indicates that they have already read it once. Then, while reading, underline the correct answer. The first sentence is provided as an example. And here we have 7 questions, out of which the first is already done because we are provided with the correct answer. The rest 6 are for the students to deal with. They are assigned into breakouts, work for 4 minutes, and after that, the teacher keeps on checking that. What kind of stage is this? What's it? Read the text one more time. Marina?
Maybe it's the second reading, reading for detailed comprehension.
Right you are. Then here we have the same text, but the task is. Now let's read the text. You have 4 minutes for that. Mind your time. What are the right answers? Whose guesses were right? Show them the right, and we show them as teachers the right answers. Ludmila?
It's definitely reading for gist.
Reading for gist, definitely. Okay, now when we've identified that, that's reading for gist. This one is reading for, just a moment, for getting so detailed information, kind of like intensive reading. This one comes as a lead-in, though it can be also treated as a pretext activity. Then this one is definitely, what? What's this?
Like post-reading activity?
Post-reading activity, because we lack it. We do not have any tasks suggested for it. And to be quite frank with you, so even in case if we treat it as the pretext, it sounds more like a pretext, pretext stage. Then, so like I would think of a decent lead-in as well as of this stage that would suggest speaking on the topic. At least here we have the pretext activity, and we do not have any task where the students would be asked to talk. What ideas, what suggestions do you have for this stage? What can be done here? So they had the pretext discussion. They picked up some weird ways of meeting your best half. Read the text in which several more ideas were analyzed as to how now spouses, like the people who are now a couple, so met each other. These were funny cases, some scary cases. Then again, they read it, analyzed it in more detail, and after it, there comes the time for the discussion. What can be suggested for this discussion? Marina?
Our idea is a game, Two Truths and a Lie, or maybe another name, guess the story for this activity. So each student tells 2 fake stories and 1 true story about meeting someone in a funny or unusual way, and the group or partner has to guess which one is real and which are fake.
Yeah, so a nice suggestion. Thanks a lot. Yeah, with Halina being in room 1 with Halina Kovalenko. Yeah, am I right in calling her surname? So we suggested asking your students to talk about the experience that they have. For example, so Halina said that it would be a nice idea to ask them how they got acquainted with their partners, or perhaps if there are some married students. There are some of them. Usually when we are talking talking about master degree students or fourth year of study students. So there are not that many of them, but we do have like 2 or 3 people who are married, so we can ask them to share their experience, so to share if there were some funny moments, like when they were dating someone, and for them not to feel ashamed, yeah, of the story. You may say, oh, could you please also share the stories of your friends? And perhaps they would be talking about their own story, pretending that it was one of the stories belonging to their friends. Okay, any other suggestions behind that? Mind that, so we should give more than just one question here, so that it could be truly a productive stage. Because if it's just one question, will it develop? Will it enable you as a teacher to develop student speaking skills? Any other suggestions? Why not give them a discussion? So for this, I just presented this picture, yeah, on online dating. For example, you can send them split them up into groups. One group is like talking about pluses of online dating or meeting someone online. The other one discusses the possible minuses of it, and then they just think, pair, and share this information. Yeah. Then, what else can be done? So, a truth and a line, sharing your stories, so discussing pluses and minuses of online dating. Any other ideas? Okay, so perhaps you are like too exhausted. Still, if you suggest at least these activities, that would be enough. Yeah, that would be enough. And I believe that you can come up with a lot more ideas for this stage as well. So there can be role playing, why not? For example, you can provide them with some roles suggested. So, for example, imagine, these roles can be stated on some cards. Imagine that you are, let it be Gary. So a man, so aged 40, who is, for example, with a good sense of humor, blah, blah, blah. So you want to get acquainted, so with some lady, and another person gets a card pretending to be, let it be Svetlana, aged 32, and so you present different characteristics of this lady, and they are supposed to talk on behalf of these people, imagining that it's their first experience in meeting each other, let it be online or somewhere else. You can think about the circumstances under which they can meet each other. So this can be like different sorts of dramatization and so on and so forth. Okay, so thank you. So with this, we will quit. I would like also to ask you, just to give you the final question. So what are your takeaways of this lesson? Let us sum it up with these takeaways. What you will take away from this lesson? What will you remember? So what will you start using or implementing in your practice while dealing with teaching reading? No one is willing to talk.
Maybe I would say about error correction and feedback, because I never thought that it should be done like while reading tasks. Like I usually pay more attention to while I don't know, speaking, grammar, vocabulary teaching, but not while reading. So I will take away to definitely.
So you know, Irina, so here I will clarify when it should be done and why it should be done. So at the very end of the class. Frankly speaking, so like when the lesson on reading is over, so you have a chance, like you take notes as a teacher throughout the whole lesson of all the mistakes that were made. And of course, so in case if they are asked to read silently, you can hardly hear just whether they make the mistakes in reading or not. But you will definitely understand that they are making the mistakes when they start opening their mouths while responding to your questions or while taking part in this production activity. Yeah, so that comes as the final stage, follow-up stage of the reading lesson. That's why you just take notes and then you focus, as well as in speaking activity, just on the most on those most common mistakes that they make. Or in case if the students mispronounce some words, in case if they wrongly use some tense forms, some grammar structures, just pick up, so 2 or 3 mistakes, so up to 5, maximum 5, for you not to kind of like overload them with all that stuff. And so somewhere on the blackboard, or if you are working online in a chat, or while using the whiteboard, so you can ask them to repeat the word after you in case if there was a mistake in pronunciation, or like with the mistake with the stress. Or you can, for example, ask them by eliciting it from them, so like to repeat a particular sentence, or to provide once again the answer to the question that has already been asked before. And in case if the student keeps on repeating the same mistake, you will understand that it's not a slip, but an error, and you should have you have to give a helping hand to such a learner. So but would be done because that's essential. Like what we were taught at CELTA is that it's quite great if while dealing with online lessons, for example, you can use the whiteboard so that you could start writing immediately in front of them so that they could remember everything visually. The mistakes that were made in particular words or phrases, for example, or sentences. That will help them a lot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. So thank you for your active participation. That's high time for us to call it a day. We are going to meet each other next class for teaching speaking. Good luck to all of you. So and bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So